What happens when Earth's greatest heroes stop fighting villains and start fighting each other? In 2006, Marvel gave us Civil War, a story that shattered the Avengers, split the X-Men, and forced every hero to choose a side. Iron Man stood for control, Captain America fought for freedom, and in between, Spider-Man unmasked, Goliath was killed, and entire cities burned in their crossfire. This wasn't just another comic, it was the moment the Marvel Universe changed forever. In this video, we'll break down the full story of Civil War in 10 epic moments. And by the end, you'll know exactly why this is still the most shocking event in Marvel history. Civil War begins, the tragedy in Stamford. Our story begins not with a victory, but with a disaster. In Stamford, Connecticut, a young superhero team known as the New Warriors were chasing down a group of villains for their reality TV show. It was supposed to be entertainment, heroes showing off their powers for the cameras. But then it all went wrong. One villain, Nitro, unleashed an explosion equal to a small nuke. In seconds, an entire neighborhood was gone. More than 600 civilians were killed, including 60 school children. The world was horrified. Overnight, superheroes weren't seen as saviors anymore. They were reckless vigilantes endangering innocent lives. People demanded accountability, and so the government introduced the Superhuman Registration Act, forcing every hero to reveal their identity, register as official agents, and follow government orders. But here's the catch. While some believed it was the only way to keep the public safe, others saw it as the end of freedom itself. The stage was set for one of Marvel's most heartbreaking conflicts. Brother would fight brother, friend would turn against friend, and the entire superhero community would split in two. This is where Civil War begins. The divide between heroes. After the Stamford tragedy, the government pushed forward with the Superhuman Registration Act, and leading the charge to support it was none other than Tony Stark, Iron Man. He believed that accountability was necessary, that heroes needed rules if they were ever going to protect the people instead of endangering them. But not everyone agreed. Steve Rogers, Captain America, saw the act as dangerous, a violation of basic freedoms. Forcing heroes to unmask and serve under government control, that wasn't justice, it was control. Steve argued that true heroism means making your own choices, not following orders from politicians. And just like that, the superhero community began to fracture. Some rallied behind Iron Man, trusting his vision of structure and order. Others stood with Captain America, believing in freedom and independence. It wasn't just a debate anymore. It was a line drawn in the sand. Friends who had fought side by side for years now found themselves on opposite ends of a war they never wanted. The question wasn't just about law, it was about what it meant to be a hero. And this was only the beginning. The first clashes between heroes. With the superhero community now divided, tensions quickly escalated into real battles. Small confrontations started popping up across the country, heroes who once fought side by side now facing each other in the streets. The first major clash came when Iron Man's pro-registration team tried to apprehend anti-registration heroes. Spider-Man, now publicly unmasked, struggled with his own conscience. He had just revealed his identity to the world and wasn't sure where he belonged. Meanwhile, Captain America and his allies worked to protect those resisting registration, defending their friends and the principle of freedom. These weren't just fights, they were personal. Old friendships were tested, trust shattered, and every battle left emotional scars as deep as physical ones. Civilians watched in fear and the media fanned the flames, painting heroes as villains in their own right. It was clear now, this wasn't a simple disagreement. The Marvel Universe had entered a civil war, and there would be no going back. Every decision, every battle would change the course of heroism forever. Spider-Man's unmasking. As the Civil War intensified, one of the most shocking moments rocked the superhero world: Spider-Man unmasking himself. Peter Parker, always the friendly neighborhood hero, had kept his identity secret for years, protecting his family and friends. But now, in the middle of a divided Marvel universe, he made a decision that would change everything. Standing before the press, Peter revealed his true identity to the entire world. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, and millions of fans gasped. The world now knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. The unmasking wasn't just a publicity stunt, it was a statement. By supporting the Superhuman Registration Act, he chose accountability over anonymity, order over chaos. But the consequences were immediate and severe. Friends were shocked, enemies had new leverage, and Peter's loved ones suddenly became targets. The revelation weighed heavily on him. Balancing his moral compass, personal safety, and loyalty to friends became more complicated than ever before. This act symbolized the personal cost of civil war. It wasn't just about laws or ideologies, it was about identity, trust, and sacrifice. Spider-Man had stepped into the spotlight, but at what price? The Avengers split. As the Civil War raged on, the effects rippled through the most powerful team on Earth, the Avengers. Once united against threats that could destroy the world, the team now found themselves divided by ideology. Iron Man led the pro-registration Avengers, believing that heroes must be accountable to prevent another Stamford-level disaster. Captain America, refusing to compromise on freedom, gathered those who opposed the act. Friendships that had lasted decades were tested as teammates found themselves on opposite ends of the conflict. The tension wasn't just political, it was personal. Every mission, every confrontation became a battle of ideals. Former allies faced off in intense skirmishes, and the trust that held the team together for years began to crumble. Even the simplest conversations were charged with suspicion and anger. This split wasn't just a fracture, it was a warning. Civil War had transformed the Avengers from a symbol of unity into a microcosm of the larger superhero divide. And as the battle lines hardened, it became clear no one was safe from the consequences of choosing a side. Secret war tactics and espionage. As Civil War escalated, battles weren't just fought in the streets, they moved into the shadows. Both sides began using secret tactics, espionage, and strategy to gain the upper hand. It wasn't just strength or powers anymore, it was about intelligence, planning, and psychological warfare. Iron Man's pro-registration team used advanced technology, surveillance, and government support to track down unregistered heroes. Every move was calculated, every ally carefully monitored. Meanwhile, Captain America's resistance operated in secret, moving from safe house to safe house, relying on stealth, deception, and insider knowledge to evade capture. Trust became a rare commodity. Heroes who had fought together for years now suspected one another of betrayal. Even small skirmishes became high-stakes games of strategy where one misstep could mean capture or worse. This hidden war revealed a deeper truth. Civil War wasn't just about laws. It was about ideology, morality, and the lengths people would go to protect what they believed was right. The line between hero and enemy blurred, leaving everyone to question who they could really trust. The battle at the Raft. Tensions reached a boiling point at the Raft, the high-security prison designed for superpowered criminals. This was no ordinary showdown. It became one of the most intense battles in Marvel history. Heroes and former allies clashed, each fighting not just for their beliefs, but for the people they swore to protect. Iron Man's pro-registration team moved in to capture fugitives and enforce the law, while Captain America's faction fought to free friends and resist government control. The battle was chaotic, explosive, and emotionally charged. Spider-Man, juggling his public identity, was caught in the middle, witnessing firsthand the destruction caused by divided heroes. Every corner of the Raft became a battleground. Powers collided, lightning, ice, fire, super strength, turning the prison into a war zone. Friendships shattered as punches were thrown and alliances shifted in the heat of the fight. It was clear that the consequences of Civil War were no longer theoretical. They were very real and very destructive. The battle at the Raft wasn't just a fight, it was a symbol that even the mightiest heroes could fall apart when ideology tore through the bonds of trust and loyalty. The war was escalating, and nothing would ever be the same again. Public opinion and media backlash. As the Civil War raged, the world outside the superhero battles was watching closely. The media sensationalized every confrontation, painting heroes as saviors or threats. Public opinion became a weapon in itself, shaping the morale of both sides and intensifying the conflict. Spider-Man's unmasking alone sent shockwaves, fueling debates about accountability and privacy. Newspapers, TV broadcasts, and social media amplified every misstep, every collateral damage incident, turning ordinary citizens into judges of heroes. Fans were divided. Some cheered for Iron Man's law and order approach, others rallied behind Captain America's fight for freedom. This scrutiny weighed heavily on the heroes. Every decision, every action was under a microscope. Friendships strained, rivalries deepened, and the stakes became more than just legal. They were moral and personal. Heroes had to not only fight each other, but also contend with a society that questioned their every move. The public's gaze reminded everyone that heroism isn't just about power. It's about perception, responsibility, and the hard truths that define legacy. In the battle for hearts and minds, even the strongest heroes could falter. The final confrontation. All roads led to the final confrontation, where ideology clashed with raw emotion. The heroes, divided for months, faced each other in a battle that would decide not just the future of superhuman regulation, but the fate of their friendships and legacies. Captain America and Iron Man, once the closest of allies, stood on opposite sides, embodying the very principles that had torn the Marvel Universe apart. Their teams clashed with ferocity, powers colliding, strategies tested, and each hero confronting the personal consequences of their choices. It wasn't just a fight for victory. It was a fight for what each hero believed was right. In the end, the final confrontation revealed the true cost of civil war,